Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Listen, if you all have been following me for any amount of time, let's say for those of you guys that are new to me, in the last possibly 4, 5, 6 months, right? You've heard me really emphasize the structure of your organizations and how the structure of your organizations is what's going to enable you, empower you, increase your capacity to be fundable. All right. And if you've heard me talk about being fundable, if you heard me talking about the multiple streams of revenue, if you've heard me talk about how your organization is structured to raise money, I want to do a deeper dive into that conversation right now. For those of you that are watching on my podcast or on my YouTube, thank you so very much for watching and tuning in. Please like, please share, please subscribe. For those of you that are listening in on my podcast, Fundable by Design, I am super excited to have you in the family and among the community. I want to dive right into this conversation because I want to take the time to describe what it actually looks like to build a fundable nonprofit organizations. Okay. There's a lot of talk about starting a nonprofit, right? Start a nonprofit, you can get a grant, or start a nonprofit and you can get funding. But what is not talked about is what is it about the starting? What is it about the nonprofit? What is it about the work that we do or the organization that would attract, that would inspire, that would educate, that would inform, that would attract a donor and a funder, right? Because they are not in our program. They are not a part of our organization. So what is it that causes them, the community, to entrust our organizations with their support? All right. So I just want to open up by removing any confusion. And again, I want to thank those of you that have been following, those of you that have been supporters, those of you that even leave comments or inbox me and say, Jen, I'm really learning from what you're sharing. And I'm so glad to hear that. All right. Let me say this. By now, you've probably realized something. Right? If you've been following me for any amount of time, if you've been listening to me, if you've been listening to my podcasts or my YouTubes, you hear me say that the problem isn't funding. You hear me say the problem is not funding. I always say funding is not your problem. Money is not your problem. Money is the fruit. At the root of why we don't have money, it's because we don't have a plan. We don't have a process. We didn't make it a priority to raise the money. Your priority when you started your nonprofit was to launch into the program. The program is nothing but an expense, right? So the funding is not the problem. That's a symptom. Lack of funding, not having enough donors, not having enough supporters, not having enough sponsors, not having enough board members. Those are symptoms that are experienced when there is no structure to your organization. Your structure solves all the problems, right? Your communication, your outreach, your branding, your mission and how you accomplish your mission, your leadership, right? Your governance, your financial management. All of those things are structure. Those are not program things. Those are organizational structure things. But here is where people get stuck. Here's where people get stuck. Here's where people get stuck. Okay. Okay, Jen, but what does that really mean? I'm not sure what structure really means. For some of you, you think it means your program. You think it means your 501c3. You think it means your articles of incorporation or your board, right? So when you hear me say structure, you may be thinking, but what does that really mean? I'm not sure what that means. And that's okay. All right, because that's what I want to talk about today. Because the word structure sounds good, right? You hear the word structure and you're thinking, yeah, I got structure. I got my 501c3. I got structure, Jen. I'm doing my program. I got structure, Jen. I got my board. I got my EIN, right? So in your mind, you're thinking, yeah, I got structure. But this is where no one has actually shown you what it actually looks like. Let me describe what structure really is. All right. You guys have been hearing me talk about it and how you need it. It is a requirement. No one can escape it. Okay. And if your organization is struggling right now with getting donors, funders, supporters, contributors, sponsors, board members, community support, it's because of your structure. Now, let me tell you what it actually looks like. All right. We hear the word, but I really want you to understand it. Okay. Because when you don't know what something means, the word may sound like, I know what structure is, right? I think I do. And you might even go as far as going to Google. You might go to YouTube, right? You may jump over there to Cousin Chat. You might think the structure is your fundraising or your fundraisers. You might even ask for advice from others. And what you then get is little bits and pieces, right? But I want to tell you exactly what it is. I want to give you the full picture. Yeah, the full picture. All right. Many of you have been working very hard at your nonprofit organization, right? But nothing seems to come together. You're paying for everything out of your pocket. You're doing everything on your own. You don't have supporters. You don't have board members. You're not able to delegate. If anything happens to you, you are the organization's biggest and only contributor. So let me define this clearly. The structure is how your organization functions. Put how. Structure is how your organization functions. All right? How your organization functions. Remember that your organization and your program are not the same thing. So you've got to structure the organization to function. Function how, Jen? Function in raising money, function in acquiring donors, functioning in managing the finances, functioning in being able to connect, to educate, to inspire the people that are not in what you do, the function of how you reach new donors on an ongoing basis, the function of bringing in predictable revenue because you've got predictable expenses. Right? So structure is not your 501c3. It is not your bylaws. It is not your program. It's how everything connects and operates together. Did you hear what I said? Let's talk about program structure. All right, because I want you to walk through this and I want you to see what it actually looks like. You hear me talk about it, but I decided today that I really want to break it down so that you can actually understand, not that you're not intelligent, but it may never have been described to you before, right? Maybe it wasn't broken down. Maybe you didn't know. I want you to be clear, all right? Program structure. What does that look like? It does not look like, Jen, we help people. We want to empower youth. That's not what program structure looks like. There's no defined process. There's no measurable outcome. That's not a program structure. What is a program structure? A program structure is a defined program model. By definition, a program is a group of activities that are intentionally and strategically designed to produce a result or an outcome. So a program structure says you know what the problem is, you know who has the problem, and you know what the solution is. That's structure. You know who you're serving. You know how you're serving them. You know, hear me now, you know what outcomes you produce. You're not guessing. That's structure. Because the truth is this, if you can't explain it clearly, if you can't explain who is it that we serve, how do we serve them, and what is the outcome, What is it that that program produces? What is the result? What's the benefit? If you cannot explain that clearly, it can't be funded. Did you hear what I said? It can't be funded. Now, I know for many of you, you started your nonprofit organizations because you wanted to help. Jen, I started my nonprofit organization because this is what happened to me. Jen, I started my nonprofit organization because I want to help people like this or that. Jen, I started my nonprofit organization because I saw a need. Jen, I started my nonprofit organization because this was my background and I wanted to help people in my background. That's not a program. If it cannot become explained clearly, it can't be funded. All right? That's program structure, funding structure, right? Funding structure. Funding structure is not waiting on grants. It's not random fundraisers or inconsistent income. That's not funding structure. What is funding structure? That you know how to bring in the multiple streams of revenue, right? Every organization has 8 streams of revenue. Every organization has 8 streams of revenue. Any and every organization has 8 streams of revenue. You have 16. So your funding structure says your organization is bringing in multiple streams. What's a stream, Jen? You've got individuals as a stream, monthly donors, regular donors, major donors, annual donors. That's a stream. You've got businesses and corporations and sponsorship. That's a stream. You've got in kind, right? You've got fundraisers or those events, but those events should be making more money after those events. Why? Because you've got a funding structure for cultivation, for retention. You've got a structure, a funding structure that once you've gotten that event gift or the one-time donation, you have a structure, a plan, a strategy to get the second donation, right? You've got predictable paths of income. Through these multiple streams of revenue, you've got ongoing predictable income pathways. You've got 16. Now, if you didn't know you had 16, let me say this. If you didn't know you had 8, then you're not set up for 8. You don't have the system, the process, the strategy. That's an ongoing system. That's an ongoing process. That's an ongoing part of your structure. Funding becomes structured. It becomes predictable, not reactive. Okay? That's number 2. Now you've got financial structure. Financial structure, right? This is not an unclear budget. No tracking of expenses or revenue. No guessing about expenses. All right? That's wrong. You paying for everything out of your pocket. You being the organization's main contributor. That's wrong. A strong or a clear financial structure is you have a clear budget. What's a budget, Jen? You have expense planning, right? Expenses, and you have the revenue plan to cover the expenses. That's how we balance a budget. We know what our expenses are, and then we know the revenue that's needed to cover our expenses. That's a financial structure. You have an expense planning structure. You have a financial tracking structure. You have a reporting. Why? So that means you're not spending more than you're bringing in, and you are bringing in enough to cover your expenses. That's a financial structure. And this is what builds trust with your donors, your funders, and your supporters. Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? Then you've got operational structure, right? Operational structure. It does not look like everything depending on you. You don't have any systems. There's no delegation. There's no way or means to get help. You're doing everything on your own. You're running the program. You're doing the board. You're learning how to write grants. You're doing the social media. You've got a CRM, but you don't have time or knowledge of how to operate it. There is no operational system. Now, what does it look like when it's done right? You've got defined roles. right? You've got communication systems, you got processes, you've got processes of when we get the first donation, this is what we do to get the second donation. This is what we do to get the third gift. This is our strategy and our system and our process to get monthly donors, regular donors, annual donors. There is a consistency in your operation to produce the things that you need to operate. The organization then can function beyond you. I'm going to say that again. When your organizational systems are in place, the organization can function beyond you. That means you can go on vacation and everything doesn't come to a halt. You can delegate, you can educate, you can inform your board so that they can help carry the weight. You can bring on volunteers and give them the task that you were formerly doing. Listen, when all of this is in place, things start working differently. That's the structure. Now, this is the part that no one talks about. They say, start a nonprofit, you can get a grant. Start a nonprofit, you can get donors. Start a nonprofit, and you can get funding. But the donor, the funder, the supporter, the contributor, they are interested in, they are confident in, and they trust your organization's structure. That you've got financial management structure, that you're able to communicate clearly with where and how their money was spent. You've got a clear, defined program structure where you're able to show and demonstrate and communicate result. Funding then and only then becomes consistent. Messaging, your communications, your articulation, your confidence, your clarity to the community, your donors, your funders, your supporters, it becomes clear. Your operations are manageable because now everything is aligned. All the elements of the organization are aligned, are fitted. And this is the part that most people avoid, but it doesn't happen by accident. You don't stumble into structure. You don't research your way into structure. You build it. And chat can't build it for you. That's exactly why I am working with organizations in this year. I am working within the organizations this year. I'm wanting you to see that you don't have a money problem. The problem that you have is that your organization is not structured properly. That's it. You don't have a funding problem. Your organization was not built correctly. Your program was, you launched your program, but that's not what you started. That's not what gets the donations, the contributions, the grants. The organization does. And unless the organization is structured properly, then you're not fundable. Listen, I want you to be encouraged and inspired. And I want you to know that when you are ready to stop guessing, your next step is building your organizational structure. Once it's built, it's built. As I said in my last podcast, I said, you have two choices. Your one choice is, Jen, I know that my organization is not built correctly. I know that my organization is not operating as it should. We're not raising any funds. Our board is not engaged. We don't have any donors. I'm funding everything out of my pocket, right? You're basically guessing. And you have two choices. You can fix it by putting your structure together or not. You say, no, Jen, I don't want to fix it. No, Jen, I'm going to keep going just the way that I am. No, Jen, I'm going to keep paying for everything out of my pocket. No, Jen, I'm just going to continue to wing it. Those are your only two choices. You can say, yep, I know that there is a problem. I don't know how to fix the problem. And I'm going to leave the problem the way it is. And if that's your choice, then you have to accept that you're not going to get the funding that you can have. There's no shortage of money. Our work is very important. Our work is very important. The nonprofit has been around since the 1800s. All right. It's not going anywhere. We do the work that government cannot do. We do the work that for-profit businesses cannot do. Our work is important. But if it's not important enough for you to fix your organizational structure, then you have decided, I'm not going to fix it. Those are the only two choices you have. I'm going to fix it or I'm not going to fix it. And if and when you're ready to fix it, say, Jen, I'm ready to fix it. I'm ready to put my organization together so that it can bring in the revenue that it's supposed to, that it can bring in the revenue that I have been empowered and enabled to do. That's what your 501c3 is. Your 501c3 is the permission to bring in the revenue. That's your 501c3. It's not a program. Your 501c3 is not about your program. It is about your ability and your permission to bring in revenue that is tax exempt. That has nothing to do with program. So when you are ready to fix it to where your organization is bringing in the revenue that you've been given permission to bring in, and you've got all the fundraising programs at your disposal, you can fix it. Put the structure together. Not putting it together is going to mean that you're not fundable. And that's just the bottom line. There's no other way to say it. You only have two choices. Either I want to fix it, or no, Jen, I'm going to keep operating just the way I am. I'm going to keep paying for everything out of my pocket. I'm going to continue to be limited in our scope, in our ability, in our capacity. And we very well might have to close our doors because we don't have enough money to keep it going. That is your decision. Listen, you don't need more ideas. You need a structure that works. And that is my expertise. I'm excited that in a few short weeks, I will have been doing this work for 40 years. And I'm not tired yet. In this year, I really want to help organizations fix their structure problem. And once it's fixed, it's fixed. Once it's structured to raise money, you know how to raise money. And it keeps going consistently, predictably. How do you think those organizations in your community right now are raising the funds? The ones with the buildings, the ones with the staff, the one with the vehicles on their names. How do you think they do it? They have a structure. Every organization has the same structure. Every organization has the exact same structure. And when you are ready to put your structure together, I invite you to give yourself the permission and to be empowered to raise all the funds that you need to operate, to scale, to deliver the resources and the program that's going to impact not just the people that are in your program, but it's going to really benefit your community. You deserve it. The people that you serve deserve it. And your community is looking forward to it. It benefits the community, right? That's the work that we do. I am Jennifer. I am your nonprofit expert, over 39 years of experience helping organizations not just start, but to scale, to grow, to be sustainable. So if this work outlives you and that you leave a legacy of result, that after you retire, your organization will continue. It's so important. I want you all to be encouraged. And I want those of you that are saying, Jen, I'm ready to fix it. I'm ready to put my organization together properly so that the donors, the funders, and supporters can trust my organization with their investment. That's the only way you're going to raise money, y'all. Stand unclear is going to keep you broke. When you're ready to raise money, let me know. Right now, I have two spots for a current training that I have. If you would like to figure out how to work with me, I am available to you, but you've got to be ready. All right. For those of you that say, Jen, I'm ready, then let's go. All right. I want to help you. I want to show you, and I want to empower you that you can do this work. and funding is not your problem. That once you're structured, funding becomes very easy. Okay? It's not a heavy lift when you're showing, articulating, demonstrating benefit, not your passion. All right? Thank you again for listening. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you next time.